Operating a Boeing 737-9, also known as Boeing MAX 9, Alaska Airlines Flight 1282 en route from Portland, Oregon to California's Ontario International Airport encountered a horrific incident, to say the least. The aircraft, designed for 178 passengers, carried 171 that day and 6 crew members. After a 25-minute delay, the flight departed from Portland's runway 28L. As the plane climbed towards cruising altitude just before reaching 15,000 feet, a sudden depressurization ripped through the cabin. Panic flared as passengers near the back witnessed a horrifying sight, a gaping hole next to seat 26A, where a wall panel once stood. This wasn't a window, it was a service door designed for emergencies, but on this specific aircraft it remained unused. Unaware of the nature of the opening, the passengers were faced with a hole in the jet, revealing only stars and city lights. With an airspeed of 271 knots, the pilots, following procedures, donned oxygen masks, stopping climbing at approximately 16,300 feet, and initiated a descent to 10,000 feet, prioritizing safety over speed. Luckily, the plane's altitude allowed for a gradual decrease, minimizing the impact of the depressurization. While the temperature outside plummeted, the pilots carefully maintained a safe airspeed, preventing further harm to passengers. For those near the hole, the experience was undoubtedly chilling. They were met mere feet away with the frigid wind and vast emptiness below them. Thankfully, the empty seats beside the breach were unoccupied and offered a bit of a buffer. No injuries were reported. By the following day, the passengers made it safely to their destination. This incident happened on January 5th, 2024, and it's just the latest dangerous incident to occur with this type of aircraft.
Federal authorities have ordered an immediate grounding and inspection of some Boeing 737 MAX 9.
This comes more than 3 weeks after the door plug on a 737 MAX 9 fell out.
Late tonight that it found loose hardware on other Boeing 737 MAX 9 planes.
Boeing, as they've found fresh, new quality problems that will impact the MAX plane.
The Boeing 737 MAX has been under public scrutiny for several years following multiple crashes and malfunctions. However, the aftermath of this incident hasn't even begun yet. Alaska Airlines immediately declared that they'll be grounding all 65 of its Boeing 737 MAX 9 fleet, followed by United Airlines also announcing that they're grounding 79 more. Alaska and United Airlines are the only companies in the US who operate the MAX 9 jets, representing about 70% in service. A few hours later, the FAA issued an Emergency Airworthiness Directive, or an EAD, temporarily grounding certain Boeing 737 MAX 9s while inspectors conduct specific inspections before clearing the aircraft's return to service. Later on, Turkish Airlines, Copa Airlines, and Aeromexico all temporarily suspend service on their 737 MAX 9s while doing inspections. In total, more than 170 737 MAX 9 planes have been grounded worldwide. So what does all this mean? Was this an isolated incident for Boeing, and why did it even happen? You see, this isn't the first time that Boeing experienced a crisis with this model. As I said earlier, this specific jet has been under scrutiny worldwide many times before. It goes way back before the Alaska incident and even before the 2018-2019 crashes. In fact, the 737 MAX has been having problems for more than 25 years. Yeah, 25 years. Researching this topic took quite a bit of time and energy, specifically about how Boeing lied to the FAA. While I was digging through resources online, I wondered what kind of info could people research about me on the internet. I wrote my name in Google and I got some sensitive information that I really wouldn't want people to know about me. This is because I wasn't aware that data brokers could actually sell your information to scammers, spammers, and everyone else who would really want to target you. Your full name, email, home address, health records, your relatives, it's all out there. That's why I've been using Aura, the sponsor of today's video. Aura shows me which data brokers are selling my information and automatically submits opt-out requests for me. Cleaning up my information not only helps reduce the amount of spam that I get, but it protects me from hackers who could use this information to help them access my social media accounts, bank accounts, or other sensitive information. Aura also does so much more to protect me and my family from online threats that I can't see. It's really easy to set up, so I don't have to download several different apps to get things like anti antivirus, VPN, password management, parental controls, identity theft insurance, and more. I get everything at one affordable price. You may already have one or two of these tools already, but not having Aura is like locking the front door and leaving the back door wide open. Aura is always on, doing the hard work of keeping me safe so I can focus on producing better videos with peace of mind. I value my privacy and I value yours. You can go to aura.com/shortary to grab your 2-week free trial. Also linked below in the description. Again, that's aura.com/shortary and grab your 2-week free trial. Thank you, Aura, for sponsoring this video. Now more about Boeing's downfall. For almost a century, Boeing was the leading producer based on its excellence in aircraft design and safety. The issues recently faced by the aviation company can be traced back to the decisions of former CEO Philip Condit, which completely reshaped Boeing's corporate structure.
Being willing to authorize a prototype that was worth more than the net worth of the company at the time. If it had failed, it was game over. It was not sort of, oh gosh, that's sad. It was game over. The 47, in many ways, was exactly the same way. And the company came extraordinarily close to bankruptcy when the market turned down sharply in 68, 69.
First, he acquired arch-rival McDonnell Douglas in 1997. While Boeing was known for its careful engineering, McDonnell Douglas, on the other hand, prioritized cost-cutting and incremental upgrades of older models, a philosophy that began to infiltrate Boeing's core. Secondly, in 2001, Condit moved Boeing's main office from Seattle, the heart of its engineering power, to Chicago, primarily for the tax benefits. The move separated Boeing's corporate executives from its engineering and product decisions and alienated its Seattle-based engineers. 2 years later, Condit resigned following an ethics scandal. The board brought on Harry Stonecipher, a retired executive from McDonnell Douglas. Stonecipher aimed to make Boeing more like a regular business than just a super-focused engineering firm. Instead of investing in entirely new aircrafts to replace aging models like the 727, the 737, and the 757, he chose to maximize profits from those old models and use the cash to buy back Boeing stock, an action that resembles McDonnell Douglas's style, not Boeing's. Meanwhile, the Airbus capitalized on this strategic oversight with the launch of the highly successful A320neo with major customers like American Airlines. This jet was a blockbuster since it incorporated advanced aerodynamics, lightweight materials, and efficient engines, resulting in an impressive fuel efficiency that airlines craved. The A320neo's success directly challenged Boeing's dominance, leaving their aging 737 family struggling to compete. Keep in mind that in 2014, the year the A320neo made its first flight, Airbus was the underdog. They were nowhere close to Boeing in terms of market value. However, the tide was turning. Under pressure, then CEO Jim McNerney proposed a 5-year plan to upgrade the 737, but he only aimed for minimal changes to maintain existing FAA certifications and avoid the costs of pilots training. However, this decision, driven by profit maximization rather than safety considerations, would have disastrous consequences. This manifested with the 737 MAX in 2015 when it encountered stall problems. The design had flaws. The big engines were forcing the jet's nose to pitch upward. Rather than further design changes that would fix the issue, Boeing opted only for a major software update to keep the 737 FAA's original type certification. The Type Certificate, or TC, is a document by which the authority states that an aircraft has demonstrated the compliance of a type design to all requirements. The newly updated software had one job: push the plane's nose downward. That's it. This system is called the Maneuvering Characteristics Augmentation System, or MCAS. The engineers tied that software to a single sensor, known as the angle of attack, or AOA. This sensor plays a crucial role, and it must stay aligned with the oncoming airflow. If the angle increases past a specific threshold, this indicates a potential stall, so the sensor transmits this vital information to the flight computer. In response, the MCAS is activated to pivot the jet's nose downward while in motion, to realign with the airflow. While this added safety, it also introduced a dangerous vulnerability. It's autonomous and it's discrete, meaning it's an independent system that operates discreetly in the background without the pilot's awareness or consent.
But a minute after takeoff, there's a problem. The plane's nose is suddenly pointing down. Was it due to a glitch in the aircraft's operational system?
Help me pull back. I can't control it.
What happens next? Disaster.
Oh my God!
In fact, neither pilots nor the FAA knew of the existence of such a system prior to the 2018 and 2019 crashes, since there was nothing in the manual or the flight deck to indicate the presence of MCAS. And Boeing knew this.
That light was, there was no indication either in the manual or on the flight deck of the presence of MCAS.
The reason it was deleted was because the functionality was incorporated into the speed trim tail light, which you can see just adjacent to that. The MCAS is an extension of the speed trim system.
Thank you for that.
Boeing is a truly manipulative company. In 2019, the FAA launched a full-out investigation against Boeing for reasons we'll discuss in a few seconds here. What they found was downright deceptive. A report released in 2020 by the Inspector General of the U.S. Department of Transportation stated that during the initial certification process, Boeing didn't specifically bring MCAS to the attention of the FAA. Nobody told the FAA that Boeing had made MCAS more powerful and effective at pushing the jet's nose down. Boeing even hid an analysis report that suggested that the MCAS is prone to failure. That analysis identified a failure with the angle of attack sensor, the one that's tied to the MCAS. In essence, Boeing intentionally lied about the MCAS, masquerading it as merely a small modification to the existing system, not as anything new. Therefore, it didn't receive a more detailed review or discussion between FAA engineers and Boeing. The theatrical play was in order to make sure that Boeing didn't spur the FAA to require more pilot training. Moreover, the report indicates that Boeing played the FAA so well that they were practically granted full authority for final approval of the system, essentially allowing for self-certification. Boeing knew MCAS was a serious problem, yet chose to overlook it. They believed this was okay because the chance of it screwing up was very, very low. Spoiler alert, they were wrong.
And we begin tonight with startling new developments in the doomed Ethiopian Airlines flight.
The plane reportedly lost more than 3,000 meters of altitude in less than 1 minute.
The Boeing 737 crashed. Tiny pieces of debris were all it left behind.
A search operation by sea and air continues.
The Boeing 737-500 aircraft was carrying 56 passengers, including 7 children and 6 crew members.
All had died.
Within the span of 5 months, 346 people were killed in 2 crashes, first off the coast of Indonesia in October of 2018, and then again in Ethiopia in March of 2019. In both, MCAS erroneously activated, repeatedly pushing the nose down while pilots fought desperately to regain control. The aftermath was swift and brutal. The 737 MAX was grounded around the world, from China to the European Union and several other countries as well. The FAA followed suit on March 13, 2019, after initially saying the planes were safe to fly. But regardless, Boeing kept building them basically to keep its suppliers in business. The former CEO, Dennis Muhlenberg, was fired with a $60 million bag, replaced by David Calhoun. Boeing agreed to pay a $244 million fine, a $500 million fund for the families of people who died in the 2 crashes, and also a $1.77 billion to airlines that have been affected by the 20-month grounding of the 737 MAX. Boeing declared that the total cost of the 2 deadly crashes was nearly $19 billion and tanked to its first annual loss in 2 decades. Eventually, Boeing stock had plunged by a little over 18%, and then the pandemic happened, worsening the situation even more. Some experts predicted that Boeing would never heal from this crisis, while others even believed that the company might get nationalized, giving the staggering $45 billion debt burden. It's just a matter of time before something like this would happen, says a father whose daughter was killed in the Ethiopian Airlines crash. And he was right. All of these crises and disasters we just discussed have exposed deeper issues within Boeing's corporate culture and decision-making. Boeing, as any other manufacturing company, didn't oversee the entire manufacturing processes of their jets. Instead, they subcontracted tasks to other companies, such as Spirit Aerosystem, to build some of the components. And these subcontractors sometimes offshore some of their work. That means that Boeing might not be aware of the processes by which some of their components on their plane are constructed. Is the 737 MAX really the jet that Boeing wants? Is it manufactured the way Boeing intended? Or is it something else? How good is that jet? Is it uniform? Is it proper thickness? The point is, Boeing has absolutely zero control over that. This in turn backfires with their aircraft safety standards. Currently, there's a full investigation about the Alaska incident. Everything so far points to a mistake in installing and inspecting a door plug, the part that blew out. Investigators are trying to exactly pinpoint who's at fault here. Is it Boeing or Spirit Aerosystems, the company responsible for assembling the faulty door? To me personally, it's a Boeing aircraft, so it's kind of Boeing's fault. The lack of control over the manufacturing process is a persistent issue for Boeing. Last year, fake parts were found in airplane engines used by both Airbus and Boeing. And that's not all. Boeing's been having cracks in parts of their regular 737s and leaky fuel tanks. Moreover, there's the Dreamliner, another Boeing plane that's been grounded several times because of quality issues. Even Air Force One, the President of the United States of America's plane, has had quality problems. Apparently, safety is not a top concern at the company. Prior to the 2018 crash, none of Boeing's board committees were tasked with the airplane's safety. The charters of these committees didn't talk about the airplane safety at all. They only discussed financial risks and profits. In fact, Boeing never had a safety committee until the 2018 incident. Even after the Lion Air 737 MAX crash, Boeing's CCO update to the audit committee failed to mention product safety as a compliance risk. The string of safety and governance issues had a significant financial toll on Boeing. They faced losses exceeding $2 billion last year, with its stock plummeting by nearly 20% since December and approximately 35% compared to pre-pandemic levels. Concurrently, Airbus has made more profits than expected, delivering more planes and is closing the gap with Boeing in terms of market value. With that being said, it's important to ask yourself why Airbus has a better safety record than Boeing. Because you see, Boeing's 737 alone has more crashes than all Airbus crashes combined. While both companies build airplanes, their approaches differ significantly. Boeing and Airbus have distinct corporate cultures, standards, and decision-making processes. And these differences have tangible consequences. The 737 MAX, for example, highlighted a troubling prioritization of profit over safety at Boeing. They have since really worked on revising the MAX and making it an effective and favorable option for airlines across the world. But the reality is, making the MAX great was never something Boeing wasn't capable of. But making the MAX great while still making money is something they can't do. Experts think that unfortunately this crisis will pass, and then another one will happen at some point in the future. I really hope not, as somebody who flies these planes very frequently. Look, if you've enjoyed this video, make sure to leave us a like and hit the subscribe button. It'll really help us make more videos. Also, check out these videos as well. I'd highly recommend watching the video about Shopify's lack of profitability. This is Shortary, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.